Hello, everybody, and welcome to an emergency podcast of the Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast. This is a hot NBA Twitter alert. We had to have an emergency podcast, and I'm your host, as always, Mike Catron, and joining me, Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
All right, take two. I'm ready now.
No worries. All right.
You said podcast twice, anyways. So I mean,
Yes, I did. I think I did a bad job of the intro. It's been a bit.
at least you're not as bad as Mark. Mark would always get really mad if he said the same word twice, and then he'd make you do the intro over again. So sometimes he'd do it 20 times, and I'd be like, "Come on, just go with that one. No, it's fine."
Even if it's say it twice, just keep going. Nobody cares. I would have kept going. I would have left that in. Nobody's listening.
I couldn't even talk, man. You would never even heard me. Those dogs were going nuts for some reason.
Oh yeah, no big deal. I could tell what's going on. All right, let's give it a shot. Another take two. Hello, everybody. This is an emergency podcast of the Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Experts. Nope, take three. Emergency broadcast of the podcast. I got it. It's broadcast.
Joey says I'm allowed to call myself an expert now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's nice.
He told me so.
He didn't tell me that. What the fuck?
Well, he talked me into I don't know, running something for him next year that's sort of like Basketball Monster shit. So,
oof, good luck. That seems like a full-time job. I don't know. What's his Josh Lloyd? It's an insane person. He's writing an article a day still.
Oh, dude, I don't know how that guy finds as much stuff to talk about as he does. That guy still talks for an hour a day about basketball.
Yeah. I mean,
at what point do you just not have anything else to say, brother?
I mean, I guess I could talk an hour a day about basketball, probably only a couple of times a week, and then also, I don't know, take a vacation.
Oh, he's coming to the States here soon, so he's gonna.
I did hear that. I heard he's coming to Chicago. I might invite him out or something.
Dude, he's having a meetup in Chicago. I just heard that today from him.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I might actually go check that out. Get my name. Put my name in. And be like, hey, man, we talk.
I don't really know him that well. I mean, I play in a league with him, and he always seems like he's just a super nice dude.
Yeah, he seems cool. It might be that accent, but he seems cool.
No, he's just super nice about everything that goes on in that league. So I'm all right, you got to be just a cool guy.
Yeah, and I guess when your full-time job is just doing fantasy basketball, that's probably pretty cool.
Yeah, I bet you I mean, I think those guys make decent money.
Yeah, enough to not have a day job.
They make $40,000-$50,000 a year, I think. Dude, I'd do that for talking about fantasy basketball.
Yeah, I take a pay cut just to hang out and talk about fantasy basketball. But my work ethic, man, the whole summer I wouldn't be working.
Oh, dude, if you actually do your own rankings and projections, man, those get brutal.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work. I was working on something like that, and I was like, nope, never mind.
I've done it before. They get tedious. All right, I'm ready. Let's do this.
All right, I'm gonna clap really loud so I know where this is.
Just make a fart noise.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to an emergency episode of the Watching the Boxes Fantasy Basketball Podcast. I am your host, Mike Catron, and joining me, as always, is Tyler Watts. What's up, Tyler?
Not much, Mike, man. How are you?
I'm good. I didn't think we would be back this soon, but NBA Twitter is alive.
Oh man, it's been a whole year's worth of stuff already, hasn't it? I mean,
I can't even keep track of any of this stuff. The last 72 hours have been a complete blur. I've got no work done. I've just been on Twitter. I've been on Twitter during meetings, not paying attention. I do not care at all about anything other than NBA Twitter right now.
Your job is not going well.
I might not be employed because of the massive amount of trade rumors going on NBA Twitter.
I think Woj will take you. He'll hire you. He'll take you under his wing. You'll be like his third assistant. He probably needs one by now.
Yeah, I'm in. Let me know. Woj, call me up. I know you listen because you need help on your fantasy basketball. That's cool. Call me up. You know me. I'm at Watch the Boxes on Twitter. Just DM me, man. I'm good. I've also got into a sparring war with Snotty Pippen, famed basketball Twitter account, and been blocked by an NBA Bulls beat writer. So it's been a hell of a week.
How did you get blocked by a beat writer?
Well,
I
feel a little bit bad, but Vincent, I gotta get his full name. I already forgotten it. I know his full name.
Is he like the real beat writer or just like a fake one? I mean,
no, this is the Bulls beat writer.
What paper does he write for?
Probably Bulls.com.
Who reads that? I only read the Tribune. I mean, come on.
There you go. Tribune is the only thing to read. Don't get me wrong. I'm gonna cut this out. Some of it.
Boom, boom, boom. Look, I have some music. Some Mike looks up his person who blocked him on Twitter's music. So if someone blocks you on Twitter, can you like see that? Like, how would you know someone blocked you? Or you just can't look at their stuff anymore?
All right, let me start with his name and then ask that question. It is Vincent Goodwill, Bulls insider.
For who? Who's he the Bulls insider for?
I think he's their sideline reporter, maybe.
Oh,
no, I have no idea who Vincent Goodwill is. I feel bad though. I feel a little bit bad. He's getting beat up because he's been reporting that Jimmy Butler's gone to like 6 different teams, and I kind of made fun of him, being like, "Who's next? Well, how many teams are next? Stay tuned." I think he's been having a bad week, so it looks like
he works for CSN Chicago.
There it is, CSN Chicago.
They don't even broadcast the games, do they?
They broadcast all the games locally.
Oh well. So this guy blocked you just because you made fun of him?
I think he's having a bad week. I think he's been getting murdered by a lot of people under the same vein, and I think I was just dogpiling on him.
So wait, how do you know he blocked you though? I'm still not sure how this works. Like, if someone blocks you, you can't see their stuff, or like it comes up and says like you have been blocked.
You can't see any of their stuff.
Oh man, you want me to help you? I'll send you some screenshots of what he's saying if you want me to.
No, I'm not interested.
All right. Well, I mean, props to you because I've never gotten blocked by anyone on there. I'm gonna have to step my game up now.
Yeah, man, you got to. If I ever get which is probably never, but if I ever get press credentials, I'm gonna have to probably apologize to somebody. But he'll probably won't remember. That'll be better.
Dude, you're
probably blocked about 3,000 people this week.
I hope I get press credentials just so I can say, hey, you blocked my friend Mike, and I think that's really cool. We are now best friends.
Good job. Well, we got a ton of news to get to, so let's get right into it. Let's start with the thing that kicked this all off. It seems like it was forever ago, but it was just Friday. It was less than a week ago. The Sixers ended up trading the number 3 pick and a future LA Lakers protected / Sacramento Kings 2019 pick for the number 1 pick for Markelle Fultz, pretty much. As a Sixers fan, you got to be pretty excited about this.
It was basically 2 top 5 picks, right, for the number 1 pick. If I'm the Sixers, I make this trade 10 times out of 10.
I agree. I think it worked out. It's a pretty good trade both ways, but the Sixers got what suddenly everyone was saying, oh, well, Markelle Fultz, sure thing, definite number 1 pick overall, 100%. And now the Ainge trade the pick. Everybody's like, well, maybe the top 5, maybe this isn't that good of a draft. I'm like, I don't buy that. I think Markelle Fultz is still pretty good.
I think Markelle Fultz is the most complete player in the draft. I think that he has the fewest amount of warts or things that you don't like to see in a prospect. That Sixers lineup's looking scary, man. It's looking scary already.
You got to be pretty pumped. It's been a long process, but here you are.
It'll be interesting to see how they kind of split the ball handling duties with Simmons coming back, and they say Simmons is going to be the primary ball handler still, even after they pick Fultz. So that'll be interesting to see too.
Yeah, I think fantasy wise, Sixers are now I'm most interested in that team. I'm most interested in their summer camp. I cannot wait to see their preseason. I'm super excited that Fultz, who looks like he could be probably one of the best, if not the best fantasy rookie of the year, probably bump into that top 100. I'm excited to see that he's actually going to get high usage this year instead of being buried behind Terry Rozier.
The last 3 number 1 picks for point guards have been top 100 players. So,
boom, there you go.
That's fantasy rookies. That's a fun fact for you. Yeah, I mean, he's going to go too high though. Can we agree with that? In Atlanta redraft league, someone's going to pick him too high.
Absolutely.
I think it always happens with the number 1 pick.
Yep, pretty much. I'd say if you are in, and we'll get into, we're going to do a special draft show because once we know where people are going, we'll be able to kind of analyze that a little bit better. But pretty sure Fultz is going to the Sixers. I'll probably rank him number 1 in my rookie fantasy rankings.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, I think you can make a case for a few guys in like the 2 through 5 spots, but I think he's set himself apart from everybody else. I think he's definitely number 1.
Yeah, you can definitely make a case for, I'd say Lonzo Ball with the Lakers, but we'll talk about that because there's more news to get to. But yeah, go on.
Well, he's the only one I think who has a shot just because assists are always so valuable, and if he's had a real high assist rate, and if Fultz is not going to handle the ball the full time, and Ball is, he might be able to get a few more assists. And that could push him higher in the rankings.
Yeah, I'm excited to do our draft show. We will be doing a draft show on Monday. So if you want to know if you're in a rookie draft or if you are in one of those dynasty league, that might be the show you want to be listening to. That will probably be coming out next Monday, Tuesday. But there's a lot to get to. Let's do some quick news, some real quick. I forgot. This is hot take number 1. I promised 3 hot takes and a conspiracy theory on this show. And my Sixers Celtics pick, hot take number 1. This is a pretty hot take. Danny Ainge, not that good of a GM.
Oh, now that's hurtful.
Not that good of a GM.
We got breaking news. Okay, now this is bad for breaking news, and it's going to ruin your
right now. Huh?
But yes, the Pelicans traded Tim Frazier to the Wizards for the 52nd pick in the draft.
Oh my God. Is that one of the 39 draft picks that Danny Ainge has?
This has nothing to do with Danny Ainge, I don't think.
Oh. Who did he get?
To the Wizards for pick 50.
To the Wizards.
Yeah.
I'm like red hot with my Danny Ainge shake, so that's all I can focus
on. All right,
on.
Let's go Danny Ainge. I'm ready to hear it. Sorry, I just got that breaking news.
That is breaking news. That is live breaking news, everybody. That is what we are bringing you here on Watching the Boxes. So yeah, Danny Ainge, not that great of a GM. Here's why. He's been hiding behind that Brooklyn pick for ages. He thinks every other team is Brooklyn. He fleeced Brooklyn, royal fleecing, one of the worst fleecings of all time. He's been living off that for the last 5 seasons? He hasn't made.
You gotta give him credit though.
He's a great trader. I will give him that. I don't think he's bottom of the barrel GM, but everyone's got him pegged as one of the number 1 GMs in the league. Go take a look at who he's drafted with all those draft picks. The Celtics had 8 picks in last year's draft, and you've only heard of one of them is because he was the number 3 pick. He's Jaylen Brown.
Yeah, but Zizic is going to be good, man.
I will say I'll give it a Zizic, but keep going back. Go all the way through it. I think someone came out with the statistic out of all of Danny Ainge's draft picks, not one has been an all-star. And I think there's a disclaimer on that, and I will give Danny Ainge credit. The trade for Rondo, they made that pick, even though it wasn't technically a Boston pick. So Rondo, he was an all-star. But I'm saying all of Danny Ainge's pick, not one all-star.
He drafted Avery Bradley, right? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't believe so.
No, he didn't. Okay. Well, just in recent memory, I won't.
Yeah, he drafted Avery Bradley. Was Avery Bradley an all-star?
No, but I mean, I think that
he also drafted Fab Melo. Was Fab Melo an all-star?
Here's something I think that it's not fair, and people throw that out a lot, like all stars. Like, how many all stars have there actually been in the last 10 years? How many actual different players have there been? I mean, Kobe made it every year for 100 straight years there. LeBron makes it every year. Like, there's only 12 guys that make it on each team, right? And it's the same guys every year.
I'm just saying he's not a very good drafter, is what I'm saying. A lot of people like to overlook that. Danny Ainge, not a great drafter. Very good trader.
I guess we disagree in the sense that I think any draft pick in the NBA where you draft a player who A, starts for your team for even 5 years, I'd say that's a good pick. And B,
go look. There hasn't been a lot of those.
If you draft a guy who can even play rotation minutes for your team for like 10 years, like a Jamal Crawford, if you drafted a Jamal Crawford, you did good for yourself. Jamal Crawford's never been an all-star, but that's the kind of guy you need on a team.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying, even go look at all his draft picks, go out to Real GM or go out to Basketball Reference, look at the history since I believe 03 is how long he's been GMing over there, and go look at his draft picks and compare them to other teams. That's all I'm saying.
I will say that in the last few, he has not done amazing.
Yeah, he's only had 12 picks in the last 2 years. So keep getting them picks. Keep getting them picks, Ainge. I don't know what you're gonna do with them.
All right, I'm looking at his picks right now that he made.
Watch out.
They're not looking good. They're not looking
James Young. Ooh,
great.
Lucas Noriega.
Well, what do you think about Rozier? Rozier's a guy I'm never super sold on, but some people really seem to love.
He's untouchable, apparently, and that's part of one of my other hot takes later in this episode.
Well, I'm excited to hear that. Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. In the last at least 3 or 4 drafts, he has not done that good. Marcus Smart's a good rotation player for him.
J.R. Giddens.
But he has made some picks of guys. I'm not even sure they're real people. They sound like they might be fake.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. Overrated.
But he is a great trader, so I can't think you can't say he's the worst GM.
I'm not saying he's the worst GM. I'm saying he's
if he quit his job with the Celtics and wanted to come to the Bulls, would you say yes?
That is unfair because the Bulls are utterly incompetent. Okay. That is another hot take. I told you 3 hot takes in a conspiracy. So let's go real quick. Some quick lightning round news. Greg Monroe opted into his contract. He will be playing for the Bucks. Do you care fantasy wise?
Do I care fantasy wise? Good question. I care in the sense that he was the 93rd player last year in 8 category rankings. So yeah, he's probably owned in any league. In 22 and a half minutes, which he's not going to get any less minutes than that, is he? So, he's a back end.
No, if anything, he's going to get less minutes this year.
You mean more?
No, I think less. Don't you think? Unless they moved somebody.
Less than 22 minutes? I don't know. I don't think it gets any worse than that for Greg Monroe.
Yeah, you might be right. Look at you in the. It's the off season, and you already got your rankings in front of you.
I think I guess he can't get any worse, and he was worth the pick in a standard league. So
he's standard league relevant, but he isn't.
But he's back end. He's not like anyone.
He's not going up. He's not going hard down. If anything, he goes down.
And I'll say this too. Are you going out and saying I gotta get Greg Monroe on my team? He's a big man who doesn't block shots. I don't love that.
No, I do not care. Care about
at the same time, if he's there with my last pick in a standard league, I'd probably take him.
Yeah, why not? So lightning round number 2. Nick Young opted out today. Do you care?
Fantasy or in general?
Fantasy wise.
No, I don't care.
All right, cool. And lightning take number 3, Dwayne Wade, sadly and depressingly opted into his $24 million, completely getting rid of all the cap space that the Bulls had. Fantasy-wise, do you care?
All right, 8 category. Okay, now hold on. Let me change this. I'm going to change it to total value instead of per game. Okay, where would you say Dwayne Wade ranked? I want you to guess. I don't want you to look.
Total value last year.
Yep. He only played 60 games.
60 games? Ooh, that drops him further than I thought it would be.
He was in the top 60 if you looked at per game. I will say that.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, if totals, I think he's still in the top 100. I'm gonna go like 98.
Even better, he was 72nd.
No way. I'm really shocked. I'm shocked.
So, yeah, Dwayne Wade's worth it in fantasy. And Dwayne Wade is a guy I often find on my team because everyone hates him. It gets past pick 100. Dwayne Wade's still on the board, and I go, give me 18 points, the 4 rebounds, the 4 assists, the 1.4 steals, and the 0.7 blocks. Yeah, I'll take that on my team.
Everyone says, "Oh, this is the year. His knees are gonna go. He's definitely gonna be injured the entire year. It's not gonna happen." And like you said,
Yeah,
18 4-4 with some steals.
And this is worth saying too. All right, those last 3, even 4 picks in a standard league, don't you pretty much rotate through guys during your season anyways? So I mean, why would you not take a shot on Wade? Okay, he blows out his knee in the first game and doesn't play the rest of the season. You were gonna get someone else anyways. Yeah, there's no downside at that point.
If he's at the near the end of your draft, or even in the last 4 rounds in your draft, you should be picking him. He's still got value. I don't think he's going to be any better next year. I don't think he's going to be any worse next year.
I think he's going to be Dwayne Wade again. I mean, he's going to be what he was. I agree with you 100%. He might be slightly worse at 35, but he's going to be a top 100 player. I guarantee it.
Definitely. So we got tons of stuff to talk about. There were multiple trades this week, which is pretty nuts. This has been more exciting than the playoffs this last 3 days. More exciting than the trade deadline. We'll start with the least important trade. Dwight Howard for the illustrious Dwight Howard going to Charlotte for Marco Bellinelli, Miles Plumlee, and the 41st pick.
Okay,
what a sad day for Dwight Howard.
Let me take over because they also gave up the 31st pick. So Dwight Howard and the 31st pick. So here's what happened. Now, I just want you to just hear me out here because I could not believe this happened, okay? You remember 5 years ago when Dwight Howard was the best center in the NBA and he was Superman and just so amazing, right? I mean, everyone.
I do remember this.
Okay. Atlanta had to give Charlotte a favorable pick swap to get back Marco Bellinelli, Miles Plumlee on possibly the worst contract in the NBA.
There's at least 3 worse contracts, but it's definitely in the top 5.
The dude makes $12.5 million for the next 3 years.
Mozgov and Joakim Noah might have something to say about that.
Okay, but at least Mozgov can play rotation minutes. Can Miles Plumlee even do that?
I'm not sure Miles Plumlee can play in the NBA, and he
makes
pretty sad.
That okay? I maybe those 2 contracts are worse, but it is bottom of the barrel.
Yes, I'm 100% in.
So they traded a Dwight Howard, and a favorable, and they gave up the better pick to get 2 guys who can. I mean, I'm not going to flag off Marco Bellinelli. I think that guy has a role in the NBA, but it's like 15, 20 minutes a game. And Miles Plumlee, who I'm not sure can play a minute. I mean, that's sad. A big fall for someone, isn't it?
It's very sad. If Atlanta is tanking right now and they end up moving, or Millsap's not even on the team, do either of these guys coming in matter?
If you're in a super deep league, maybe, but no.
Does anyone on this team get on the Atlanta Hawks get a bump in their production fantasy wise? Just based on the roster today, I guess. That's all we can do.
Here's the crazy thing about Atlanta, and I'm not sure if you know this or not. Like, every big man they have is a free agent now, if Ned Dwight's gone. Ersan Ilyasova, Muscala, Chris Humphries. I'm blanking on one. Paul Millsap, obviously. They're all free agents. They don't have a big man under contract right now, I do not believe.
That is good news for all the guards on this team.
So
they might be playing forward. They might be playing center.
What
at center.
What I'll say is they're obviously going to bring someone in, and they might bring in a kind of under the radar name who can get a lot of minutes and be fantasy relevant. So that's something to watch for in free agency. Is the Hawks need big men. And apparently Ursan Ilyasova's not coming back. After this trade, pretty much everything I'm hearing, Millsap's not coming back. So they got a ton of minutes open up.
Poor
Which,
Atlanta.
I mean, if you play 30 minutes a game, right, you're going to be somewhat relevant in a standard league unless you're just real bad.
Yeah, unless you're Omar Sheik.
Hey, now he was kind of good for your Bulls for a season or two. Am I wrong about that?
He was part of that bench mob, but his job was to stand in front of the rim with his hands up, and he did a great job of it.
I just
Absolutely great.
remember like people getting hyped about him one year in fantasy, and I'm like, I've watched that guy play. I don't think he can move his feet.
His rebounds per minute were absurd, but that's because he was playing against second teams on with a group of really, really good defensive players.
Well, good for him.
One of the best, actually. One of the best.
I'm not,
five, or actually, I think that bench mob was the best lineup. Defensively in the league that year.
So I'll get back to this Dwight Howard trade for one question. Thoughts on Dwight Howard on the Hornets?
Well, overall, I think I like the fit better in Charlotte for Dwight Howard. They need a center, but it hurts Cody Zeller's fantasy value. I don't think Dwight Howard is going to be anything but a head-to-head type draftable player overall, unless you're a sadomasochist and like to punt free throws in roto leagues. I think Dwight Howard could be at the worst. I think he stays about where he was, and he could be a little bit better on this team.
Total value on the season last year. You want to guess where Dwight Howard was, even accounting for his very negative free throws?
Insanely negative free throws. I'm going to guess like 110.
He was 62nd in 29.7 minutes.
Man, I am way off.
He played 74 games, which is a lot for Dwight, I guess.
Well, he's got that amazing.
He's what he is, rebounds, right? He always gets good rebounds, and he can always real good with his field goal percentage.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything new here for Dwight Howard. I think Cody Zeller is really just the loser over there for fantasy wise.
So what are you seeing as the split? Are you seeing Dwight getting 30 and Cody Zeller not playing at all with Dwight and him getting just the backup minutes, the 18?
It's probably a little less. I think they might, since Dwight Howard is getting older, they might want to save him a handful of minutes here and there. Maybe let's give Howard 28.
That's about where I'm at. I think it's going to be more of a split than people think. I think that Cody Zeller and him are both going to get around 28. I think Zeller's going to get basically what he got last year. And you want to guess what he was last season? Because I think he was kind of surprisingly good for deeper leagues.
I do remember. He was around the 80 range, if I remember right.
Well, if you look at the total season values, which he only played 62 games, which hurts him a little bit.
Probably a little bit less, but
for 126. He has a nice little stat line. He gets the steal in the block game. He was 0.9 and 1, which we always like, of course. No threes, but I'm always kind of a fan of Cody Zeller's game.
It's those no threes that really bother me in today's NBA, with so many centers that can add that as a category for you in fantasy, just like they can, in real life. Cody Zeller is a very good traditional center at the bottom of drafts.
I will say that is the absolute easiest category to stream, isn't it?
It certainly is.
Because you got so many guys like J.R. Smith and all these guys on the waiver wire who are hitting 2.5 threes a game. It's like you can always find someone to kind of fill. So I'm never really super worried about picking a guy or two that don't make any threes, because I know I can always stream and find somebody who's going to make the deficit.
That's true. So the second trade of the last, 3 days, this one is the big one, or at least the biggest one of the two. But this has some, I'd say, actually incredibly significant fantasy impact. Timofey, I make way too much money, and I'm definitely a worse contract. Mozgov and D'Angelo Russell to Brooklyn for Lopez in the 27th pick.
Wow, right? That was
Smart trade by both teams, I think. Smart trade by both teams because the Nets are saying, you know what, it's time to get something back from Brook Lopez. Finally, people have been asking, they've been like, the Nets need to trade Brook Lopez for the last 4 seasons. And they actually got an asset back. They got a young point guard. And that's who is an asset. Now, whether D'Angelo Russell is not great or can blossom into something else, he's at least 21. You don't know. The problem is you got to deal with that Timofey Mozgov contract, but you're the Nets. What else are you doing?
I think the Nets crushed him in this trade.
It's a great trade.
Yeah, the Lakers got Brook Lopez, who's going to be the better player next year. But I don't think they're going to have Brook Lopez after that.
No.
Brook Lopez, 32nd overall for the season.
Really? Another really good season from Brook Lopez.
And when we've talked about this before, don't say he's injury prone. He played 75 games. That foot's been fine for 3 years.
Yep.
I've told the story before. The surgery he had, it was basically going to end his career. He was going to stay healthy. He stayed healthy for 3 years. He's not going anywhere. He shoots threes now. He's an exciting guy for fantasy. It'd be interesting to see him and Lonzo Ball play together. I think that could be kind of a nice pairing for Brook and open up his game. D'Angelo Russell was the worst guy for the Lakers to trade. I much would have rather seen them trade Brandon Ingram, in my opinion. Ingram just didn't really show a whole lot last year. He's freaky tall and freaky long arms. If that was a category in fantasy, he may be the winner.
If there was a category most like Slender Man, he would be on the top.
Most guy who looks like a scarecrow, I think he would win.
Yeah, he's got that going.
So thoughts on D'Angelo Russell next year as the probably point/shooting guard for Brooklyn?
So I've been a D'Angelo Russell hater, fantasy wise, not in real life, but fantasy wise. I don't really have an opinion on him in real life. Since he was drafted, a lot of people were claiming the second coming. He wasn't good. He was supposed to make an all-star team last year. I laughed at everybody, and he wasn't good. Without Kobe, he still played a ton of minutes. His shot, he still shoots not very well from the field, but he did seem like he was getting better. I did admit, like, you know what, this guy's there's something there, but it's very raw, and his shot's still pretty bad. And fantasy wise, he still wasn't a giant factor, but now he is the only person really on this Nets team. He's going to play with Jeremy Lin. I think that they're going to dual guard with Jeremy Lin and D'Angelo Russell. So I don't think Lin's value is probably hurt a little bit, but it's not hurt terribly off of whatever you thought Lin was going to be next year.
Here's a hot.
I think
take.
Russell goes up, and I think Lopez goes up next year as well.
Here's a hot take for you. He's not a point guard.
That is not a terribly steaming hot take. That is a pretty good take.
He's just not. He can't really handle the ball and create an offense. He's a 2 guard. I actually really kind of like him on Brooklyn, especially if it depresses his draft value to the 80, 85, 90 range. I'll be on board. He was the 91st player last year in only 63 games on the season. The health has been kind of an issue for him. He just seemed to have like a lot of strange injuries last year, in my opinion.
And I don't know how much of that was, let's sit all our players down the stretch so we can get that draft pick versus, legit health issues.
But I will say I did like what I saw going down the stretch. If they're willing to play him like 32 minutes, he only played 28.7 minutes last year. If they're willing to play him 32 minutes, I think he's like a top 80, top 75 player. And I think he has the potential to take a step forward to near the top 50.
Yeah, I think he was figuring some stuff out there. He's 21 years old, and he's going to probably play 32, 34 minutes a game in Brooklyn because they got nothing else to do. They might as well develop their only talent. So,
but he was a top 50 pick last year, wasn't he? Like if he's going that high again,
no, I'm not taking him.
Don't get hyped on him. Now, if you can get him at 80 or 90, I could see the potential where he could be 50, but you never want to pick the guy at his ceiling, right? I mean, his ceiling is probably 50th or maybe a touch higher.
I would be surprised if D'Angelo Russell cracks the top 50 next year.
Well, okay, if he gets it, he shot 40% from the field last year and 78% from the free throw line. If he can get that up to like 42, 43% and play the 32 minutes, and that boosts all his other stats, he can keep basically the per 36 numbers he has now and just get the 4 extra minutes. I mean, he's pushing up quick. There's not a ton of, this is where people kind of make a mistake. There's not a ton of value between those spots. I mean, they're everyone is real close, jam-packed in those areas. So he can make the jumps real quick if he can get the minutes and just shoot the ball a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be targeting him, or at least eyeing him, depending on if people are not interested. As always, it depends on if he gets a lot of hype going into the season. But I don't think anyone's going to be hyping anyone on Brooklyn, so he might be a little safe there. He might be a little underrated.
I will say that I messed up my Dwayne Wade thing. He was 93rd in total values last season in 8 category. I had it on 9 category earlier. So the turnovers
you should be playing 9 category anyway.
I know, but I know that a lot of people like to punt turnovers, so I never usually talk about 9 category because you got guys like Otto Porter who, I mean, like his like 0 turnovers give him like a huge boost. And I feel like if you're punting turnovers, that's not really helping you. So I'm trying.
You don't care, and then you got to look at it completely differently.
Yes.
So there are a lot of rumors floating around out there, and I wanted to shoot off a conspiracy theory. This conspiracy corner, Katrin's conspiracy corner.
Oh, that's a nice name. I like that.
Yeah, it's pretty. I've been working on my drops. The Cavaliers fire their GM.
Well, is that true?
This is 100% true. That's not the conspiracy.
They let him go, right? But his contract was up in 8 days. I mean, they didn't really fire him. They just said, we're not bringing you back, brother. Don't come to our draft meeting because you're not coming back.
The Cavs fired their GM. Now,
David
Griffin was asking for more money. But why was David Griffin asked for more money? Well, because he did a pretty good job in putting a pretty good team together. Here's the conspiracy, right? GM LeBron, the real GM of the Cavs, LeBron James, calls up David Griffin and goes, "Yo, Griff, I got an idea. I am trying to get out of this place. I definitely want to leave Cleveland. I can't leave this year. And if I leave next year, people are going to roast me. They're going to burn my jerseys in the streets again. I'm going to be thrown under the bus. I'm not going to be able to be seen in Akron anymore. I can't leave the same team twice without a reason. So what I want you to do is ask for a ton of money. And then obviously they're going to say, well, we can't pay you that money because we have a huge payroll. And you're going to leave. Now, don't worry, because I'm going to blame Dan Gilbert. And we're obviously going to lose to the Warriors next year. I'm going to blame Dan Gilbert for getting rid of you. And then I'm going to run off to the next young team. I'm going to get you hired on as the GM. And then I'm going to chase rings for the rest of my career with me and you, Griff. We're in it together. Let's do this. And we'll throw Dan Gilbert under the bus, and people will burn down the Quicken Center, and they'll set the river on fire, and the whole city of Cleveland will burn to the ground. That is my conspiracy theory. It's happening. Mark my words, 2019.
I like it, but here's really what I think happened. I think LeBron was pushing for some action with the team, right? That he knows that team is not going to beat the Warriors next year. They're very limited with their cap space, and obviously they have a kind of set in stone roster. I mean, to get another big talent on there, they'd basically have to trade Kevin Love. Or find someone on a rookie contract that they could get, like Karl Towns, who, I mean, is the Wolves going to trade anything for Karl Anthony Towns? No, that's not going to happen. So, so they're very limited in what they can do. So I don't really see them making a play next year for the title. I think that Griffin would have been pushed to make a big move like that. Trade Kevin Love for Paul George, for insert player here that they could get.
Well, it's wild. We've been hearing a lot of Love rumors. We've been hearing like Kyrie rumors even. And actually, I think one of the more likely scenarios is what's going on with Paul George and the rumors surrounding him. If Cleveland picks up anybody, it's going to be Paul George because he's a rental.
Do you prefer Paul George to Kevin Love on that team?
I think I do. Not by a lot, but I think I do. Paul George is more mobile. He can play the four and small ball situations. And he I don't know if he's as good of a shooter as Love is or from behind the arc, but Paul George can score in a ton of other ways.
I just don't know.
You got to rely completely on Tristan Thompson for rebounding.
Yes, and I don't know that I love that threesome of Irving, James, and George in the sense that I all think they're probably all three best with the ball in their hand. They're all three best kind of trying to run things, and there's only one ball.
I don't think it fits. I think their team is as good as it's going to get in Cleveland.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So
Paul George is probably the most likely candidate to go to Cleveland if someone's going to Cleveland.
I'll agree, and they'll change that bench mix. They'll find someone who wants to chase a ring that'll take a veteran minimum contract, and I just don't see any way they beat the Warriors. So then when you're LeBron, you're faced with the decision of, okay, well, what do I do? Do I stay on this team or do I go join another team? It'll be interesting to see how long this Warriors, dynasty can stay together. I mean,
it's going to cost them a lot of money.
Yeah, and how much are they willing to shell out? The league changes very fast. Everyone says, oh, they won. They're going to be the greatest team ever. Well,
for 5 more seasons. Slow down, everybody.
They've already been the best team for the last 3 years. Yeah, the Cavs won 1 title in there, but they've been the best team for the last 3 years. I mean, how many years? You're a Bulls fan. How many years were the Bulls the best team with Michael Jordan?
About a decade.
So I mean, but I guess my point is, it usually doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
So I mean, things can change fast. I'm not saying LeBron's going to leave.
The better part of a decade.
I could see it.
And that we're talking about the best player ever. So
that's what I mean. I could see him going though, but it's going to be for like a Miami situation, right? I mean, it's going to be a team that can open up a lot of money, and he can bring a buddy or two, and they can try to make a super team. And
yeah, I don't think anyone should worry about LeBron leaving this year. With Paul George, do you think Paul George is leaving Indiana? And if so, where would make the most sense, I guess, or where would you want to see him go, I guess, fantasy wise?
Yeah, I mean, if you're Indiana, don't you trade Paul George?
I think you have to. I think you would have to.
You hear that? Did you hear the rumor yesterday that the Lakers are trying to give those 2 bad first round picks and Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson to the Pacers for Paul George?
Sadly, the Pacers might have to take that deal because Paul George all out and said, "I'm going to the Lakers, or I'm going to LA." He says, "I'm going to LA."
And here's the crazy part: that's probably as good as it gets, right? I mean, that's 2. I mean, not great, but young pieces.
You gotta take something. Look what they got. Look what Sacramento got for Boogie.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was bad. That seemed bad, anyways.
When you got no leverage, I mean, what are you gonna do? And everyone knew that he was leaving. He was gonna leave last year. They knew the writing was on the wall. They're just gonna wait it out.
Yeah. So
they couldn't trade him last year because they didn't have any leverage. Now they have less leverage. And to me, for fantasy-wise, the best thing that can happen to Paul George is he stays in Indiana and then or leaves or goes to LA where he'll instantly be the superstar once again and he'll be running the team. If he goes, joins up with Boston or if he joins up with the Cavs, his value drops.
Well, and his value is gonna drop anyways, right? I mean, he stayed flat. He played 36 minutes a game last year.
His usage is very high.
Yes, I mean, so yes, he's a very good player. Don't get me wrong. He was the 14th best player on the total season rankings. But there's no more ceiling there, I don't think. I think that Paul George is what Paul George is in fantasy.
Yeah, I don't think he can get any better. If anything, he'll drop off a little bit. He's in his prime right now. But if he going to a different situation and figuring out that different situation where, especially if he is not the alpha,
you don't want to see any situation where even if he has to play like a 1-2, like a Blake Griffin, Chris Paul situation in LA, you don't want to see that for Paul George, in the sense that obviously that's going to hurt his value. You want to see him someplace like you're saying, Indiana, LA, somewhere where he can be the man. It'll be interesting to see where he ends up.
I completely agree. Another hot name going around, probably the hottest it's been in a long time. The man, the myth, the legend, Jimmy Butler is out there. I've heard more teams. This is what got me blocked on Twitter. I've heard more teams with their name associated with Jimmy Butler than I've heard in his entire career over the last 2 days. So, and this is where we come into hot take number 2. Jimmy Butler is better than Paul George. Jimmy Butler is better than Paul George right now. Jimmy Butler is a top 10 two-way player. And I'm going to turn this back around, bring in hot take 1, and Danny Ainge is low balling everybody. Go low ball Indiana. They don't have any leverage. Go low ball Indiana. Danny Ainge won't give up. We've heard he won't give up the 3rd pick overall for Jimmy Butler. He won't give up Terry Rozier. He won't give up Avery Bradley. He won't give up Jay Crowder. Why in the world would the Bulls trade a top 10 two-way player in the NBA for 60 cents on the dollar if they're going to get 60 cents to the dollar anyway when if Jimmy demands to be traded as a rental just like Paul George is next offseason? Why do it now if you're going to get the exact same return as if you're going to get when he's trying to leave?
Oh, that take wasn't that hot. Everyone knows Jimmy Butler's better than Paul George, don't they?
I don't know about that. I've seen a lot of nonsense out there saying
Jimmy Butler ranked 11th last year in fantasy. Paul George, I already just said, was 14th. Jimmy Butler's a better player.
He's a better player. He's a better
you get an extra year of Jimmy Butler. Why you would not trade the 3rd pick for Jimmy Butler? It never makes any sense to me. Like some of these GMs when they do stuff like this, like they're so dumb, right? Jimmy Butler is what the number 3 pick might be.
He's an all NBA guy, and that's exactly the point, right? It doesn't make any sense for the Bulls to get one chance at another Jimmy Butler when they trade the person who is already Jimmy Butler. And Jimmy Butler would be perfect on the because he would be able to handle the ball, give IT some rest. He'd be able to go one-on-one with people. He'd be a great two-way player. He'd hit more shots than Jay Crowder, and he would. I think he would be overall. He'd be the best player on that team when he went over there. You can make the argument IT is a better offensive player, which he is, but it makes perfect sense. But if Boston's not willing to give up just even half assets, let alone the 3rd pick, and this is what baffles me: if they were going to trade for Jimmy Butler anyway, and they didn't think Markelle Fultz was that good, that's why they traded the 1st pick. They didn't think Markelle Fultz was that good. If they're going to try and trade the 3rd pick for Jimmy Butler, why didn't they just trade the 1st pick? That just looks better. If you think the 3rd pick and the 1st pick are equal, trade the 1st pick to the Bulls, trick them. Garpax isn't smart. Trick them. They're bad traders. And give them the Bulls less with the 1st pick in this draft. So I don't think that's what the Celtics are doing with those picks.
Well, we can talk about this, right? Danny Ainge keeps saying that the player he wants is going to be available at pick 3 anyways. You got to think he wants a small forward, right?
Exactly.
So he wants either Jason Tatum or Josh Jackson, who, I mean, neither one is going to be Jimmy Butler because Jason Tatum is a good offensive player, but I don't think he's ever going to be as good a defensive player as Jimmy Butler.
Nope.
And Josh Jackson is the exact opposite. Josh Jackson's a good defensive player, but I don't think he's ever going to be the offensive player that Jimmy Butler is.
Nope.
So, I mean, why the hell you wouldn't give that pick up for that? I don't understand. But it is interesting to think about what do these guys think? Like,
I have no idea, and that's what I'm saying. Danny Ainge, he's overvaluing his assets. He's overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you that. But see, this is also the part I never know. Like, because I mean, there's lots of guys sitting behind their computer looking to make a story, right? Like,
Yeah, you don't know what any of these things are true, right?
right? It's a click driven world out there. I mean, it's tough to get those clicks. I understand that. So some people just make this crap up.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine. I can imagine Chicago saying no, but I cannot imagine Boston saying no. If Chicago called up right now and said, "We'll give you Jimmy Butler, you give us pick 3."
That's it. And
That's
some
it.
Salary, like Tyler Zeller or something.
Yeah, I mean,
Salary to make it work.
You always have to make the salaries work. I understand that. But yeah, any old garbage pile that makes the salaries work. Yeah, no, there's
not Terry Rozier. Terry Rozier is untouchable. The Celtics. Don't even mention his name. But they hang up the phone.
Dude, I still don't understand that. Like, what did they see? Am I missing something?
Idea what's going on over there. So what I think what's happening here is the Celtics probably want to make a move, but they don't want to. They're probably going for Paul George, and they're going to lowball the crap out of Indiana and get him on a rental. And but if Cleveland makes a move and ends up getting Paul George, then it makes no sense to trade for Jimmy Butler. But I think Jimmy Butler is a bull next year. I think Jimmy Butler's going to do what Jimmy Butler does, which is get buckets and be really freaking good in real life and in fantasy. He's 100% not going to Cleveland because it makes no sense. Cleveland's got nothing. And if they want to bring in another team, so like if they want to bring in the Celtics, why would the Celtics want to make Cleveland better? And if they want to bring in like Philly or the Suns or somebody like that, why wouldn't those teams just trade for Jimmy Butler?
Well, I could see Phoenix not trading for Jimmy Butler because I don't think they're that close.
Yeah, but they wouldn't help Cleveland get Jimmy Butler. Cleveland's got nothing to offer Phoenix.
I agree with that. Like, I don't understand how Cleveland trades for anybody unless they give up Kevin Love.
They have to give up Kevin Love.
What team wants Kevin Love when they can have Jimmy Butler?
That's exactly my point. So he's not going to Cleveland. Probably never go to Cleveland because LeBron will be out of there here this season and the whole city will be burned to the ground. So if you haven't visited Cleveland, which I don't know why no one, as Joakim Noah said, nobody takes their family on vacation to Cleveland. Paraphrase.
I'm taking mine right now.
Don't do it. It's a mistake. So if you haven't visited Cleveland, you want to see it before it burns down after LeBron leaves, go in the next year.
I will say that Jimmy Butler's another one. Played 37 minutes a game last year. He was 11th, but he's maxed out that spot. I mean, he's not getting any better. So he's at the end of the first round, in that range next year for fantasy. He's going to be on the Bulls.
If he was surrounded by shooters, his efficiency would get better. He would be a better player to get more assists. But you're right, his usage is way up, and being on the Bulls again with the Alpha 3 again, watching the same team again, which will be very depressing, just like it was last year. He can't get any better.
I'll be watching Philly and laughing.
So one of the trades. So I did do a Jimmy Butler trade column on #basketball.com. I've done a few columns lately. Go check them out. But one of the trades I threw in was the semi-annual fleecing, or not annual, but the semi-generational fleecing of the Knicks by the Bulls. There's a long history of getting a whole bunch of crap from the Knicks for nothing. And one of my picks was Jimmy Butler in the 16 pick for Kristaps and the 8 pick, because that sounds like a normal Knicks trade. But it sounds like Kristaps is on the trading block. What do you make of that?
Why in the wide world of sports, if you are the Knicks, would you trade Kristaps Porzingis?
I have no idea.
Like,
makes absolutely no sense.
Like, what are you gonna get? Like, we're back to the same thing. Like, you can't trade him for a pick because you're hoping the pick is him.
Oh, I got a special hot take, an extra bonus hot take.
Oh, let's hear it.
I just thought of this. They want Phil Jackson out of there. So someone's dropping all these random quotes about how Phil likes Lauri Markkanen more than Kristaps and just putting all sorts of crazy shit out there. They want Phil out. So someone's manipulating the media to get Phil out. That's what's going on there.
I'm not buying that. Phil has always said some stuff that you just kind of shake your head and go, man, lay off the peace pipe, brother. There's no way. There's no way they trade Kristaps. They shouldn't say that because they might, because they're not smart, but there's no way they should.
if you were Boston, and obviously Danny Ainge has no idea what his picks are worth because he won't trade them for anyone. But wouldn't you trade the Lakers sack combo and your number 3 pick and throw in, I don't know, Jaylen Brown, throw in whoever off the damn roster for Kristaps? That's 3 building blocks for Kristaps, plus the Knicks keep their pick. And if the Knicks are looking to get rid of Kristaps, why would the Knicks say no to that?
I don't know. Why would the Knicks say yes to that? I mean,
because they're idiots.
So you can have 3 shots at Kristaps. Like, I don't understand why I'd take any shots at having. Give me 10 shots at having Kristaps. I'm going to say no. I want Kristaps. It's as good as it gets.
I agree. It makes absolutely no sense. I don't think Kristaps is on the move at all, and I think he is going to be much better fantasy-wise next year. I'm hoping there is not I'm tired of the Knicks organization. I'm tired of New York's kind of year out of Kristaps where he doesn't try. He's not working on his game. That would be the worst-case scenario here.
Well, here's the other one, right? Are they going to trade Carmelo? I mean, Carmelo has to say yes to a trade, right? I mean,
that's true.
Are they going to trade Melo?
I think they all but have, right? I think they're going to trade Melo because
so then they're completely in the rebuild mode. I mean, like,
it would be 100% rebuild mode. Because what else do they got on that team?
So they got Kristaps and the 8th pick on that team to build around.
They got Joakim Noah. Hold on, they got Joakim Noah. For 3 more years or 4 more years?
3 because he was not for them, so he couldn't sign the super one. Yeah, that's gonna be a bad team. It's gonna be
a really bad team. Kristaps is going to be the number 1 playmaker, but without, I am interested to see what he is like without Melo taking away the best defender. I understand Kristaps' length is what his strength is. So, but if you're putting your best defender on just Kristaps and focusing your entire defense around Kristaps, is Kristaps going to be able to overcome that, or is he just going to get collapsed upon because no one else on that team is worth a damn?
But I mean, even if it does, right? Even if you see the efficiency go down a little bit, you're going to see the points go up. So I mean, he's gonna still be good for fantasy.
Yeah, his usage will go way up. And I'm going to call Kristaps out. Not showing up to your exit interview is kind of a bitch move. Phil's right about that.
No, not kind of. It is.
It's a bitch move.
It's 100% is. If your job sucks and you hate it and you have a review, you tell them, change this, change this.
Go in and tell Phil, I'm not happy here. The triangle sucks. And I don't want to play here if you're going to be running me through the triangle. Go in and say that, and maybe there's a philosophy change.
Exactly.
Probably not, but
you complain. You don't just leave, right? You don't just say, "Oh, I don't want to be here, so I'm just not going to show up." Like, that doesn't do anything. Because it doesn't help matters in the long run, right? It further exacerbates the problem.
It's a bitch move, Kristaps. Don't do this to me. I got you as a keeper in one of my teams. I don't want you having a bad year.
I'm sorry. I thought there was more to that rant coming, and then you just stopped. And
there probably is, but this is already a pretty long podcast, and I still have another hot take. The hottest take of them all. I saved it for the end of the podcast. The hottest take of them all.
I got a lot of stuff I want to say yet. So let's move on.
So here's the latter half of this podcast. Well, hopefully it's not only half over. This has been a long one, but real quick, I mean, we're going to be doing a draft podcast, like I said, Monday of next week. You'll probably see that Tuesday coming across your phone or whatever you listen to this on.
And I will say, I feel like I'm well versed. I've been watching some crazy amounts of scouting videos on most of these players. I've been watching their just tape on them. I feel like I know this draft class pretty well. So I think it'll be worth it. I've written a lot of articles about a lot of the players if you're interested in reading about it before the draft, or
where can we find that stuff?
Even after the draft. You can find it on a site called A Royal Pain. If you just type in the player's name and that, find an article about the draft player written by me.
We also did a hashtag basketball mock draft. I think you picked second, right?
I picked for the Los Angeles Lakers in that draft. I did.
Yeah.
Behind the curtain, Mike made quite possibly the best pick in the first round, and I made fun of him for it.
Yeah, you definitely killed me before I made the pick, not after I made the pick.
But
You're like, that's a terrible pick, and I was hitting enter when that popped up. So you had already typed it out. You were hitting enter, and technically, if you look at the log, it looks like you said it afterwards. But no, you were saying it right as I was clicking. Because it's the obvious choice. Lauri Markkanen, or however you say his last
Lauri
name.
Markkanen, and
Markkanen.
that
You know my last name, Phobia.
I believe that guy, who is very underrated, is maybe the best shooter in the draft.
And there's no chance he falls to 16, but apparently
he's 7 feet tall. I'm hoping he ends up on the Kings.
He's Kristaps.
I don't know that'll happen. No, because he's not as good on defense.
He's not as good as Kristaps, but he's a Kristaps-esque player.
I really like that kid. I'm not gonna lie. He's one of my favorites.
No chance that happens in the real draft. I would be ecstatic.
And I if you're doing your dynasty like rookie draft, I'm very high on him. So we'll talk about that on Monday.
We will be talking about that Monday. Is there anything you're looking forward to with the draft?
I just love draft night. Okay, now that might sound bad. This might reveal my junkie status, I guess. There's always a lot of trades that go down. I always find those just interesting. I love to you finally get to see where these kids are going to land, how they fit in with the team. Obviously, you don't have the full picture till free agency happens, but I always feel like the draft night is always like a night of hope for every team. And then most people don't realize that most of these rookies are going to be bad for the first half of the season, playing the D League, just not really get that many minutes, and then kind of turn it on for the last month or two, and that's really all they're going to be good for. But it's always exciting for me to check out.
It's a pretty good point. It is a positive evening. A lot of people reaching their dreams, and every fan base has a little bit of hope for their franchise, even the ones who are being managed by Garpax.
I'll agree with that. Plus, I think this draft, it's got some high end players, I think, and then the middle is kind of real up in the air. Like after about pick 10, I think there's a lot of guys that are real close in there, that are real similar skill levels, and so you might see someone, quote unquote, dropping that really isn't. He's really probably right in there with a kind of a mess of players. I think it's kind of a deep draft class too, which will make things like the summer league more exciting, at least.
Yeah, definitely. I'm obviously looking forward to the Bulls pick. I'm hoping they are doing a rebuild. I am secretly hoping for.
Who are you hoping for? Let's hear it. Who are you hoping for?
I'm hoping for no white non-defensive shooters. Looking at you, Luke Kennard. And I'm on that OG Anunoby bandwagon. I know that's not how you say his name.
That is actually how you say his name.
What?
Yep.
I got it right.
You nailed that.
I'm on OG's bandwagon. I'm on the OG bandwagon. It's exactly the type of pick that Garpax never makes. But my hot take, the hottest take of them all. Garpax have never picked in the lottery, or Gar at least Paxson has, but. Gar Forman and the group together never picked in the lottery other than Dinsdale Valentine last year. Garpax.
That's not a hot take, just so you know.
That's
Mike.
not the hot take.
You can't stop there. That's not a fact.
That's a fact.
Those are facts.
The hottest take of them all. Garpax are very good drafters. I am complimenting Garpax as the hottest take of them all. No one saw that coming.
My mind's blown.
They are very good drafters.
So are you going to answer my question that I had for the day? Did you queue up my question, or do I have to repeat it?
Repeat the question.
My question is, how are the Bulls going to mess up in the draft? What are they going to do? Are they going to trade Jimmy Butler like right beforehand for a pile of sticks? Are they going to draft like some guy that we've never heard of? What are they going to do to mess up? And you're saying they're going to be good? Is that the answer?
I'm going to say they're going to be good. If you go look from 2009, that's when Gar made his first draft pick. They've picked guys like Taj Gibson and James Johnson. Very good NBA players. rotation players. Like you're saying, if you're getting rotation, you keyed me up. You put the ball on the tee at the beginning of this podcast by saying, if you're getting rotation player guys, if you're getting role players in the latter half of the round, you're a pretty good drafter. Well, guess what? You know who's great at that? Garpax. They got Taj Gibson, James Johnson, Kevin Serafin. He's played 423 games in the league. Jimmy Butler, Norris Cole. Norris Cole's not terrible. Marquise,
I don't
not
know.
terrible.
Norris Cole plays in the
Not
league.
bad. He's played 360 games. Jimmy Butler's played 399 games.
I'll give you that. It's a good NBA pick.
It was the 28th pick of the draft. Jimmy Butler was the 30th pick of the draft. Just throwing out there. That's a good pick at 28. Here's one pretty decent bust. Marquise Teague. That's when they went young, and not usually with their old veteran type of pick, which is now if you want to circle back, what they're going to mess up is that's exactly what they're going to mess up. They're going to go for a young prospect and they're going to bust it. But yeah, look at Tony Snell. Look at Bobby Portis isn't bad.
Tony pick. Snell, I'll shout out Tony Snell. I thought he looked good last year after looking.
Tony Snell looked real good last year.
Not very good for the Bulls.
Yes. Finally playing on a competent.
Yeah, no, and that's where guys get roasted, right? Like, oh, your first round pick wasn't an all-star. He wasn't, this and that. It's like Tony Snell. If that guy plays in the league for 4 or 5 more years, that's a good pick. That's a real good pick. You know what I mean? Like, if you can get a 10-year veteran with your first pick, especially late in the round, that's a good pick.
And Tony Snell was the 20th pick. He's a late round guy. And also, one of those guys named Jimmy Butler is all NBA, top 10 two-way player, apparently not worth a third pick from Boston. So screw you, Ainge. Screw Celtics fans. Feel free to tweet at me at Watch the Boxes. I've been talking crap.
Hey, if any Celtics fan
all
wants
day,
to screw me, I'll give you out my number right now.
Exactly. So that is my you got 4 hot takes in this
that one was the most surprising. That was the hottest of the hot takes.
Yeah,
okay, I
had to say something nice about Garpax, but
I want to end with a little bit on free agency, and maybe we can talk more about this on Monday because it'll kind of be the next thing we're looking forward to. This point guard class is crazy deep, and not that many teams need a point guard. So it will be interesting to see where some of these bigger name point guards end up. Like if the Knicks go to rebuilding, right, they're not buying a point guard.
Yeah, they're not going to bid a ton. They're not going to max out Kyle Lowry.
Right. So if the Hawks go to rebuilding, right, they're not going to be in on a point guard. They got Schroeder to rebuild around. There's guys like Drew Holiday out there. There's Derrick Rose is going to be out there. Kyle Lowry.
Maybe, just maybe, Derrick Rose back to Chicago. The return part 4.
So
put it out there.
I think that some of these guys, and one of these guys, I've been looking at this from the Kings' perspective. The Kings actually might get one of these guys because they're going to throw a little bit of money at one of these guys, and I mean that they would instantly become the best player on the Kings and probably like a usage monster, and that could be real interesting for fantasy. Jeff Teague is out there. There's just a lot.
I like that take. Someone's going to fall through the cracks, and they're going to end up on a team they don't want to end up on, but they're going to be one of the best players on that team.
And that could be real juicy for fantasy. So there's my one kind of fantasy thing to look forward to is a point guard is going to increase in value by finding themselves in a great spot, but not necessarily a team they want to play for.
I like that take. That is a very good take. That is more nuanced than my take. I got two. I'm a callback from quite a few episodes ago. Chris Paul going on the Spurs, just throwing it out there. I'm actually a little less confident on that, but I threw them out there about 2 months ago.
If that happens, right, then do the Clippers go to rebuild, and does Doc Rivers leave? Now that would be real interesting.
That would be interesting.
Then they would not be looking for a point guard.
That would be a full-on just get rid of everybody. They have been talking about trading DeAndre. It sounded like, but I'm actually more interested in a different Clipper. I'm interested, as always, the guy who burns me every year by getting injured, Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin in a change of scenery. Blake Griffin where he's allowed to be a point forward, and maybe whatever situation he goes to, if he goes the Celtics, he's not going to be much of a point forward. But if you're putting the ball in Blake Griffin's hand and you're allowing him kind of to run the offense, there was a period of time a handful of years ago when Chris Paul was out where Blake Griffin was close to averaging a triple-double. And I'm just interested to see, one, if he's going to be in a new situation that allows him to handle the ball more, get more usage, pass the ball more, get those assists way up. And two, if he's ever going to learn how to shoot a three-point shot.
Blake Griffin is always kind of he's a fantasy, let's see, what do we want to call him? A player who he's always a little bit more tempting than he should be.
He's a real tease. He's a fantasy tease.
Yeah, I will agree with that. Those knees really worry me now. He's had a lot of leg injuries. And I should say knees. I should say legs. He's had a lot of leg injuries, and that gets worrisome. If you break your hand, then you break your leg, then you break your other arm. I'm not super worried about that. Like, that just seems freaky to me. Like that. But when you hurt the same thing over and over again, that worries me a lot more. Where in the wide world of sports would you start looking to pick Blake Griffin in your draft next season?
What is his situation? Is he on the Clippers still? Is Chris Paul on that team?
He's in a similar situation though, right? He's never gonna be like, I don't think he's gonna go to Sacramento and be the guy. He's gonna be on a team with another superstar, right? And trying to be a good team. So he's gonna go to a Boston. I think he's gonna be in a similar situation regardless of what happens.
All right. Okay. Then if he's in a similar situation, I'm probably still looking at him at the into the third round in maybe a 12-team league, right around that 37, 30, 36 area.
Well, you want to know where he's ranked the last in per game value last year. Where do you think he ranked?
That's what I usually look at, is per game value, simply because you can't attest for injuries. Though with Blake Griffin, you can almost guarantee there's going to be an injury. Which, if you get him at the beginning of the season and he's really, really good, you definitely want to move him. My guess is he was around that same area, maybe a little worse.
He was okay. So in the last 4 years, he's been 42, 41, 28, and 24.
Okay, so he's been on a decline.
But here's where I'm going to make my point. Okay, if you look at total value, okay, he's been 69th, 196th, 41, and then the year he was healthy, 15.
High risk, high reward. If he's healthy for 80 games,
right,
you're gonna get him. You're gonna get a deal on that draft pick. But if he's not, chances are I think I'm gonna stick with my where I'm drafting him. In fact, people might be off of him. I think he's gonna go for a bit of a discount, so I could easily wait through that fourth round.
At 40 or 50, I want him. At 30, where a lot of times he ends up going for whatever reason, I don't know why, I definitely don't want him.
Still that name recognition. You're hoping that if you're in a more experienced league, that they look at how often he gets injured, and they look at his results over the last few years, and they go, screw this guy, tired of him.
And that's
if he's in a new situation, I want him. If he's still on the Clippers with the same team, I don't think I'm gonna bid that high. But if he's in a new situation, I would put the 40th pick, 36th pick, somewhere in that. If I had to reach for him, if I was in a snake draft, I would do that.
Ultimately, that's what you want, right? You want him to get that Dwayne Wade label where, like, oh, he's always hurt, he never plays, and then he falls.
Pick him up in the 8th, 9th round.
But
that would be ideal. But you know what? Like I said, I'm always tempted by Blake Griffin, I probably will be this year again.
I will probably not, because I think he will probably go in the 30s, and I will probably let you have him. Like, you will be the owner of Blake Griffin and his injured leg, and halfway through the season.
Well, speaking of drafting, we are going to be doing, I think this is pretty official because it's not really that hard to do. We are going to be doing a listener league this year. So if you are interested in joining our listeners league, feel free to message us. I'm on Twitter at Watch the Boxes. And where can we find you?
And here's what I want, okay?
Yeah.
In the messages, okay? I want to know if you guys want to play Roto or you want to play head-to-head. I want to know if you want to play Dynasty, if you want to play Keeper, or you want to play just a season long.
You know what I don't want to know? If you want 8-cat or 9-cat, because it's going to be a 9-cat league. No one gets a say on that. Sorry, listeners. I'm putting my foot down. You're playing in a 9-cat league if you're playing, unless no one's going to play, and then obviously we'll do an 8-cat league.
And maybe Mike, I can talk you into the 9th cat being something different.
I don't know about that. I'm a traditionalist.
I know, but I've got some interesting ideas on that I will not share right now because we've gone way too long already.
What do you think about this? We'll put the 9th category up to a vote.
I'm game for that.
Perfect. So if you are interested in this league, let us know the type of league you want to play in. Let us know why you want to play in it. Not that we're gonna kick you out if you had a bad reason. If it's funny, good reason, we'll probably tell everybody about it on the show. And tweet at either one of us. I'm at Watch the Boxes. Tyler is at Watsy4444, which, like I said, is hard to remember and hard to type in. But
you always find it, Mike. Don't lie. You always find it.
I follow you. It pops up. If I had to type it in, I would forget it.
All right. Well, I can understand that. I guess I'll think about changing it, but then you'll not know where to find me, Mike, and that'll be bad.
I agree. So maybe you got to keep it. You've had it for a while, so
it's been too long.
Yeah, probably too long, probably. So yeah. Want to hear other stuff over the offseason?
Here's what else I'll say. I'm throwing down the challenge, right? I'm looking forward to beating all you guys. Whoa. So you guys better show up, right?
Whoa.
I'm looking forward to beating everyone in this league. I'm looking forward to taking this league down.
You're talking a lot of shit. I'm just in it for the camaraderie and the love of the game.
Mike, I'm most looking forward to beating you. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk shit because I'll probably lose the whole thing, and then I'll have to, do whatever the loser has to do.
Oh, we'll have a gentleman's wager on just us too.
I think there will be some sort of wager, and we'll have to come up with something really good. We'll be thinking about that as well. So yeah, if you want to hear any other topics over the offseason, we're doing a draft podcast. We'll be doing probably a couple of free agency podcasts depending on the news after free agency starts. And then there'll be a nice long break before we do start in our preseason. So if you want to fit something in there, you got any topics you'd like to hear about, or if you got any questions or anything like that, or if you just like the podcast and want to leave us some comments or a review, please do that. And if you are interested, throw it out there. If you're interested in sponsoring this, you should probably put this at the beginning of the show and not the end of the show. But if you're interested in being a sponsor for the podcast, you can email at watchtheboxes@gmail.com. Feel free to reach out. But if not, we will talk to you next week after the draft. Good luck, everybody. Oh, shit. Where's the... Oh, there it is. I can cut that.